Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching House Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Our great guests now in the afternoon show occasionally, like the great Tony Michaels. And of course, musical entertainment. What more do you want, honestly? Hit that like, subscribe. We hit the 60K mark. Now we're shooting for 100. We need 1,000 Patreon people to get us to the next level. So think about joining. It'd be a lovely thing. And then, of course, we shall see what we shall see. But we need 100,000 on the Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, follow the Facebook page. And then, of course, 1,000 Twitch subscribers. So if you're on Twitch, if you're on Twitch, subscribe. This is what happens when I talk too fast for my tongue. I mean, can you blame me?
He can do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe it.
So, yeah, very easy. So, yeah, this is Rudy has apparently been locked out of his apartment, that's outside Steve's building, and he won't let him in. And this is the title of this one: Democrat judges disallows. Judges disallow, plural on only one, not two. So Democrat judge disallows. I don't know why it's multiple, whatever. Giuliani from defending against charges. Rudy Giuliani explains. Good, because I don't know what the ever-loving fuck he's talking about. He can present whatever defense he wants. So let's see. I'm curious. Hold on.
Now I have to analyze this. Obviously, possibly we'll move for a new trial.
Okay, we've already seen this part.
It was going to
his guys drag him away. They're like,
okay, the lead story today. By the way, it's Saturday, 16 December, year of Lord 2023. We're both live in AmFest with the team, also in the nation's capital. We'll be shifting the flag here.
I'm glad it at least admits that Washington is still the nation's capital, and he hasn't just decided to go with some old like Confederate fort in South Carolina.
In a little while, out to AmFest in Greater Phoenix. I want to thank Natalie, Jane, and Captain Bannon for holding down the lead story everywhere. Giuliani must pay massive fine. Giuliani, the beloved New York Times, which I know is one of Rudy's favorite reads, has got it as the
used to be. Now that's ironic.
One of the lead stories: Rudy Giuliani finds price of lying is $148 million. MSNBC and CNN, literally since this went down.
Okay, just get to Rudy
by Skype.
Where the thanks that he's coming by a Skype, because you need to know that. I guess
Mayor Giuliani. First off, thank you for being here. How are you doing? First off,
how's your attempt to flee the country going?
I'm doing fine, Steve. I expected it, of course.
Yes, because you committed the crime, and therefore
expected at the moment. The case was brought in D.C. rather than in Georgia. The case was brought by an associate of Hunter Biden and a person who represented Burisma, the crooked oil company.
Oh, so they know what you've been up to in other countries, so they particularly hate your guts. Also, D.C. is where you committed the crime, dumb fuck, not where the victim is.
Paid the bribes to the Bidens. So it was obviously a Biden case. These two so-called poor women had about a $10 million legal group.
Oh, okay, hang on.
Yeah, but I gotta say, they were looking to benefit on the other side. Anybody fights a big corporation or a deep pockets individual, a lot of times the lawyer, even if they're an expensive lawyer, they're going to take it on the back end, if you know what I'm saying.
Let's stipulate before we get rolling. The reason I want to do this kind of came as a shock to most of your huge fan base on War Room, and quite frankly, even the War Room. We have not followed this in the level of detail we've been following from the president. So I want to stipulate, I want to make sure that we're not going to get you in more trouble, or you're not going to get yourself in more trouble, or maybe you're not in trouble and you're going to tell us that. So Gottlieb.
Yeah, he's well beyond fucking trouble.
Gottlieb is the lawyer. So just tell us, how did this happen? How did it get to federal court? It seems like, and we're hearing this from me, look at you.
Because he was the president's lawyer at the time.
Didn't put on a defense. This kind of came out of nowhere. It looks like the jury, I don't know if didn't find you guilty because they didn't even put you guilty, but they came in with this huge thing.
It's not guilty or innocent. It's a civil trial, dumbass.
Very confusing. So I think the first thing we need to do is have you break it down.
It is very confusing, and I was an attorney.
And to just, well, Tell us what's going on, because $148 million.
And I have to say, this is my first time seeing Nosferatu in sunlight. It's very strange.
Is a lot of cash, and so I think people are quite. Your fan base is worried about you, Rudy. I just want to make sure everybody wants to make sure you're doing okay, and that this thing is going to get to a positive conclusion. And whatever we do, let's not bury ourselves. Don't bury yourself anymore if that's even a possibility. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know what the last one means, but I can tell you that this is an absurd verdict of 148 million, and the case was even more absurd than the verdict, because it wasn't a case that any.
Yeah, that should solve it. It wasn't a case, and it was absurd, which that'll overturn it. I'm check your phone. Maybe somebody's texting you that you don't have to pay the 148 million.
Nobody would recognize who's an American or English lawyer. I never put on a defense. I was never allowed to put on a defense.
Bullshit.
The judge found me guilty, liable, based on failure to turn over your defense. Several documents after turning over thousands, none of which.
Yeah, I gave them. I poured documents onto them. Everything except the ones they were asking for, the ones where I admitted guilt.
Have a bearing on liability, but maybe on the ability to pay. I've never heard of a case like that where a judge finds liability based on the failure to turn over tangentially relevant documents.
Tangentially. It's your communications, fuckwad.
But that's who the judge is. The judge is Beryl Howell. She was the chief judge. She's the judge who intervened because she felt the January 6th defendants weren't getting enough time in jail, which was unethical.
Why?
Unusual and.
Yeah, well, so was January 6th. I don't know. There's not a lot of living jurists that have experienced something like Jan 6. So I'm guessing that you're dealing with an extraordinary situation. You're going to make a lot of parallels, but that's the best you can do.
Displayed a great bias. She's made comments making it clear that she
thinks you're an asshole. Well, I mean, again. Say what you will about her, but a broken clock is even right twice a day.
It is Donald Trump and those around him a danger to the republic, including me.
Yeah, so far batting 1,000.
Recently, she made a speech right in the middle of this case, I think, or right shortly before, betrayal.
Well, I got to say, do you feel like maybe working those details into your actual memorization cycle, considering they work? It has to do with how you're going to pay $148 million. Do you know how many details I would have fucking memorized? I have more details memorized about his fucking case than he does. And I wasn't in danger of losing $148 million. What the ever-loving shit?
Her biases. And all throughout the case, she didn't conduct a trial. She conducted an inquisition.
Dude, were you on a rack? Did you have your testicles cut off? Were you dunked underwater until you came? Get an inquisition. Get the fuck out of here. You had a civil trial. Stop. Just stop with this shit. Look, when kids say, I got to get home by 8 o'clock or my parents are going to kill me, we know that's an exaggeration and a joke unless the kid doesn't show up again the next day and it was 8:15. But that said, most people know that a kid that's a normal exaggeration in conversation. Even in some relationships, my wife is going to kill me. My husband's going to kill me if I do this, if I buy her, she's going to kill me. That's on an interpersonal level. That kind of exaggeration is important. But all these assholes who are talking about this in terms of any legal problems they have as an inquisition or a fucking witch hunt, there is a historical context to which when you talk about those things as fucking real, right? When you're talking about them as a real thing, as opposed to an exaggeration. If you use them in an exaggeration, that's their function, because it's like adding on crack to something or on meth or on acid in an 80s comedy joke that happened all the time. You're bloviating a little bit, which is fine. But when this asshole is making a one-to-one comparison between his civil trial, where he's just a fucking asshole and he endangered the lives of these two election workers, wantonly and with a total disregard for their safety based on bullshit for years. And he's like, I was subject to an Inquisition. Are you the same height you were when you went in, dumbass?
To cut out every defense that I had.
You don't have one. What the fuck does that mean? How did she cut it out?
First, I couldn't defend myself on whether I had committed libel or not. I wasn't allowed to put in the videotapes of them doing what I said they did.
It was already part of the record.
Which I could have demonstrated to the jury.
No, that was already part of it.
I couldn't call witnesses.
Yeah, you can.
Who would support what I said. I couldn't put documents on and reports from credible sources that said that fraud took place there. How am I going to defend myself? Then,
first of all, your document, again, there's only two ways he can defend himself in this situation. One is he's got to prove that case, and he can't because they've gone through this, both of these women and the entire election in Georgia, in Fulton County, like no fraud on the scale anywhere near what would be required to change anything. And I guarantee if there was anybody who tried to vote twice, it was a maggot. That's just the reality. One of the other reasons why Republicans don't want him to look in red states especially is because they're like, fuck, Trump lost by way more. Every time they looked, what'd they do? They found more Biden votes that were chucked out or not counted than Trump votes. Every time they did a recount. It always benefited Biden, which means if there was an intentional, suppressing of certain votes, it was Biden votes across the board. Secondly, all this shit, it doesn't matter. You can't defame somebody unless you have the reasoning. You literally have, especially if you're accusing them of crime. That's where the word alleged comes in all the time. He didn't use the word alleged. He went way far past that. And being the president's lawyer, the standard's higher.
She decides we're going to have a trial just on damages. So once again, I want to put these things in to show that I didn't damage them. I put in no evidence. I wasn't allowed to.
You can't prove you didn't damage them with the same shit they'd already seen.
And when I said I would take the stand, she said to be very careful because she had already ruled that I was lying based on documents I didn't turn over that she never saw.
Right, lying by omission. We're familiar with the concept.
And
that would be the whole truth part. That's a violation.
Could hold me in contempt.
Right. Truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So you don't believe in truth in general, and the second and third one you absolutely wouldn't even attempt.
And I know she has a propensity to put Trump people in jail even for longer periods of time than the prosecutors recommend. And she was sending me a clear signal that if she didn't agree with what I said, I might very well go into jail. I mean, perjury to her is the truth to me.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
Because she's turned the world around.
No, she does not have that power. She could turn the beat around if she's a Miami Sound Machine fan. Or is that Diana Summers? I forget. Because they covered it.
And never did any of those jurors see a single piece of evidence that many Americans have seen about how these women acted that would have been totally contrary to their unrebutted, uncorroborated testimony.
No. Here's the thing: you can't call something that requires the governor of Georgia to fly up to D.C. and go, "Yeah, no, we already worked that out. Here's the report." The report's in the file. The judge has already seen the report from the governor and the lieutenant governor and the election workers and all this. They've gone through that shit. They don't. You can talk about this shit all you want. Gloria Esteban, yes.
It's
Miami Sound Machine.
It's a sham of a trial. There's no court in America that wasn't a Trump deranged court.
Estefan. Did I say Esteban? Yeah, Estefan.
Court that wouldn't reverse it immediately. No matter who the person was. You can't convict somebody without any evidence.
First of all, you're not convicted. It's a civil trial. Period. The like the rules of evidence in it are much lower. You could present anything you fucking want. The reason you didn't is because you thought, I'll throw it on purpose, and then I'll go to an appeals court and find a court that Trump put somebody into, and they'll reverse it for me.
I want to go back over that because the media is sitting there going, you talked a big game, you had all this evidence, and then you never presented it, and you said you were going to be you said you were going to.
Yeah. Hey, Rudy, real quick, what color's the laptop? Because the model year you're talking about, there was a black one available and a silver one available. I'm just curious. Also, the sticker on the Hunter Biden laptop, was it a laminate sticker, like plastic looking, a vinyl sticker, or was it one of those Backstage Pass fabric stickers? I'm just curious. It's a little detail, but I'd love to hear it. I'm just curious.
Be a witness in your own defense. You didn't do that. But I just want to make sure the audience understands Judge Beryl Howell is the judge, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Elise Stefanik put a ethics complaint in yesterday about her because of, I guess, a speech she gave or a talk she gave at some group where she said some comments, I guess, about J6 and other things that Elise Stefanik thought were inappropriate. So she's filed an ethics complaint on her.
Because she's made a judgment?
Judge Howell's also the one that Julie Kelly comes on all the time.
You do realize that a judge can say something about, I don't know, a mass event, but that doesn't mean that everybody that comes in front of them that's accused of being at or participating in that is guilty automatically. You recognize that, right? It's like saying the Holocaust was terrible. The camp guards were every bit as complicit as the soldiers around them or Hitler himself. That doesn't mean everybody you bring in front of me and say they're a camp guard, I'm just going to go, oh, fuck that guy. I'm going to need to know for real that they were, because here's the thing. I'm really interested in putting away those camp guards. That's what I want. I think they deserve to all go to jail forever or capital punishment or whatever your particular belief is. So I don't want to fuck up my record and have some of these assholes get away because I went after the wrong person. So that's why we have rules of evidence and standards.
Who's done the most thorough job on the J6 and goes over all the details of why she thinks she's being out of line as a judge.
Out of line. Ouch.
So Rudy, just explain simply for people that are not lawyers.
Like yourself. For people who used to be lawyers and kind of sucked at it to begin with.
How?
For, and dumb it down for people who don't shower either. How
does a judge, a sitting federal judge, not allow someone to put on a defense and be able to provide all the evidence that's relevant in a trial where someone says you defamed them? Why could
how did this work?
You not show? Why did she not allow you to show that evidence that you believe shows that you didn't defame them?
By the way, bullshit alert, just telling you. Just get used to the idea. Yeah.
Bullshit!
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the first place, she did it because she said I didn't give them certain documents on my current financial situation, which, of course, have nothing to do with whether I defamed or not.
No, that was during the financial portion of it. The judgment, not the beginning about the liability in the first
From
place.
The fact that I wouldn't turn over documents about my current situation or failed to, doesn't show that I defamed them. For something as serious as that, I mean, for something like that, you give a penalty, a fine, an order. You don't just quickly grab an entire case and say the person's guilty. Second, when we got...
Well, how would you give an order or a fine without quickly grabbing the case and saying the person's guilty? You can't give an order or a fine. What the fuck? Laurie King says, Hal, I totally agree with you since I'm an expert when it comes to electronic devices discovery and production of documents. Thank you. I appreciate that. I try to keep a standard that's up to yours.
To damages, and I came into court and the press said,
well, hang on. Hang on. Let's not get to damages. In the discovery, did you actually turn over documents?
I sat for a deposition for 5 hours.
That's not the same thing.
Take the Fifth Amendment, answered every one of their questions. I gave them every document that was relevant to what they did and what I saw.
Oh, that relevant. Based on whose idea of what was relevant?
They have all the documents that people have seen on television of them counting ballots and the manner in which they were counting ballots, which is as clear as you can get. They had all that.
Okay.
That was all excluded.
So hang on. Hang on. You gave a 5-hour deposition, and that was all allowed in as evidence. And you gave every document they requested.
No, it wasn't allowed as evidence. You gave a 5-hour deposition, and the judge didn't allow the deposition as evidence.
Requested.
I gave every document they requested.
No, you didn't.
Except for your current financial condition. Is that it?
Yeah, and part of it was because of confusion. The FBI seized my documents, and I got back certain ones. I didn't get back other ones. And I was sorting through them to try to figure out which ones were still available. Some of the documents I'm penalized for, I never got back from the FBI, but she didn't bother to listen to that. But what I can...
Also, what the fuck are you talking about? Who has only a paper copy of shit? What are you talking about? Like fucking limo receipts? What the shit? Taxis, meals at airports?
I assure you is none of them had to do with whether I did it or not. Everything about whether I did it or not was kept out because it would prove that I didn't. But she did it again. So when I came...
Somebody's doing it, that's all I know.
The other day and said, I'm going to tell the whole story. I was going to tell the whole story to reduce damages.
Uh-huh. And then you decided it wouldn't reduce damages, I'm guessing?
I was going to put in the tapes. I was going to put in the reports. I was going to put in the...
Yeah, you were, and then you didn't.
Eyewitnesses. I was going to put in some of the additional tapes that we have and new evidence that we have. They made a motion, the defense did, to hold me in contempt for that because I contradicted her ruling. And they made a motion in limine, that means to limit me, and she ruled that I could do none of that.
Because you didn't do it in a timely fashion, because you were holding on to shit. Dude, you didn't walk in there going, aha, here's the tape. I got the rest of this where it shows that they were scheming and talking about this. I've got a phone video of them doing the actual crime up close. And, Your Honor, boom, Perry Mason moment. It's, yeah.
And that if I did, I'd be held in contempt.
Hang on.
Nobody's held in contempt for entering material into evidence. And trying to do it in the penalty phase after you refuse to turn it over in the actual trial phase is just trying to sway the jury or gack up the system.
This is where, hang on a second.
This is where people are like, is this guy fucking stupid?
Slow down. For non-lawyers, that's a little confusing.
He said it's trial by terror.
They said if you presented the evidence that you have, that you relied upon, that showed you didn't defame them, their lawyers came forward and said you should be held in contempt if you put that in. And do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, no one understands that correctly because it's fucking gibberish.
I would be violating her ruling that I had lied. If I did anything to contradict her ruling that I lied, either in the testimony that I gave or in the documents that I put in, I would be held in contempt. So,
if you lied again, you mean?
She excluded all the documents that I was going to put in.
Are you waiting for a bus or?
She excluded every other piece of evidence that I was going to put in.
Because you didn't put them in during the trial phase?
She excluded my lawyer from cross-examining on that.
First of all, your lawyer wouldn't be cross-examining on it. He'd be examining on it at this point because they weren't on the stand. We're talking about why you didn't take the stand.
And she gave me advice on whether to testify or not. And told me she didn't think I should testify.
That's what they always tell people.
Because I would expose myself to perjury.
Right. Because she's seen what she saw your deposition.
And that she really regretted not having held me in contempt before.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have to say, it's probably a running contempt. I don't know if it's just legal. I think you're a contemptuous person.
She also told me at another point she didn't like me.
Well, okay, again, another sign she has good judgment.
This was not a trial.
Okay, Rudy, hang on for...
All right. When did she say this? Did you whisper it as you were leaving? Hot mic?
Yeah, hang over a second. I want to get into. So the question I asked you for the break and to think about, why did a
What the fuck are you talking about? I think is a solid
judge
question.
rule that you were lying? I think the audience has to understand that, or at least I do, because I still don't understand it. But anyway,
Right. We don't understand. None of us do. What the fuck?
we're going to take a short commercial break. America's mayor.
We're going to take a break and let him sort his gibberishy bullshit thoughts.
Rudy Giuliani, and I mean, it's hard enough to think through the Trump stuff because they're coming at him every different direction. But this thing kind of came out of nowhere. You just got to help me explain. Just explain it to me. How does a judge rule that you're lying? And I want to know what she ruled that on. And then that rolls into that. She uses that, or that's a predicate that you're not trustworthy enough, I guess, to even get on a stand and give testimony. So therefore, you never present a case, because I think your followers and your fans are sitting there going, Rudy had all this evidence. Why didn't he? And the media is just crushing you on this. Why didn't he present?
Yeah. Also, you do realize you're asking this question of the pathological liar that was just found guilty in this slander case. Maybe ask, I don't know, ask his fucking attorney. I'm dead serious. Have his attorney on. Have his attorney explain the machinations of the court case.
His case, if he's got this evidence, and why didn't he take the stand and
Well, that's the problem right there, I think. Did you hear that part? If he has all this evidence. Aha.
in his own defense? So we got a couple of minutes to explain that one to me, because I'm more confused than ever. Brother.
I hope that I explained it, but let me try
No, you didn't.
again. The reality is that she did not find me liable based on any evidence, because there was no evidence.
Yeah, there was. Your statements about the two of them. He's on a Skype thing. Your statements about the two of them is the evidence. Because it's in this particular civil case, because they are saying it is. They are presenting it as evidence. They are presenting your statements about Ruby Freeman and Sham as their evidence. You have a responsibility to make it not evidence, to say that's not evidence, that's based on stuff that I saw, that I was acting in good faith when I said that, or it's that they made it up, which they didn't do. So these are public statements.
Not having produced a discovery she thought I should produce. None of
Again, the fuck are you talking? Say it.
which had anything to do with liability. Had nothing to do with whether I did something right or wrong, but how much money I would owe if I did. And a lot of it was because of the FBI having seized my documents and then finding me not guilty.
All right. That has nothing to do with why you didn't present your case. It's real simple. Why in the liability phase or in the trial phase did you not present your evidence? Why didn't you not offer it as evidence? Or why was it rejected specifically? Jesus, this dude's dumb.
Second, when we came to the trial on damages, she wouldn't allow me to put in any of the evidence with regard to what I would say was my innocence. Because
yeah, it's too late. You already lost the part. The liability is how much you owe. You don't get to put in exculpatory evidence in the punishment phase. That's what an appeal is for, dumbass.
that would contradict her ruling and be contempt.
Right. Because you're not giving your financials because you're trying to hide how much money you have so that they can't get damages or people don't realize how much money you have. And so they're going to, the thing that they're supposed to infer your worth and get the payment out of that from, that's that part of the phase. But the previous part, you can't bring in evidence that says, I'm not even guilty, because it's a waste of everybody's time. You've already been found liable.
And then she cut my lawyer off in any questions on cross-examination as being outside the scope of the case. And she warned me in a little speech that she gave that if I got on the witness stand and I testified the way I spoke out of court about being innocent and what I could prove, she would be required to hold me in contempt.
Right, because you couldn't prove it.
And that means going to jail.
Well, we can all hope.
Given the fact that I would not have been able to get anything in, I know she puts people in jail. She did a heck of a job with the J6 people.
I think so. And she is a judge.
Kind of bloodthirsty. She was the one who
bloodthirsty. Did any of them get capital punishment?
urged that they weren't going to jail for long enough periods of time. I had no doubt that she would do that. And I
Wouldn't that make her time thirsty?
had no doubt that she found me guilty the day the case was assigned to her. The woman has no ability to be objective at all in any case involving Donald Trump. She is
This doesn't involve Donald Trump. Not really.
the
Not yet, anyways.
travesty to
And partly the only reason it doesn't involve Donald Trump is because he punted it down to you. And that's what shit Rudy said.
a court that's
Rudy made me say that. He's doing the same thing that Rudy's lawyer was doing with Gateway Pundit.
becoming a travesty. And I'm glad this happened because maybe it'll get attention for the J6 case,
Yeah, totally. That's what it's doing.
where people were treated
Hold-
equally like it's a
Yeah.
Nazi court.
But
Like it's a Nazi court. Yeah, because everybody in the Nazi court where people were getting hanged, those people all got 36 months out in half.
Without,
yeah,
without
but
any kind of tension.
Hang on for a second. Hang on for a second. I'm still fucking confused. What are you talking about?
hang on a second. Hang on. The J6 are the J6, and they're fighting. They got their own fights, and I know they're in
They certainly do with reality.
a terrible situation. But I got to focus on you because this is it could be a death knell.
Could be a death knell.
Are you? And let's assume everything you said is accurate in the timeline.
Why the fuck would we do that?
How did this happen in the United States? What you're laying out is actually sounds worse than what's happening in Manhattan with the judge up there
I don't know. He's an old man sitting in the sun. What part?
against President Trump in his financial situation. How did this happen in the United States of America? You were the head of the Southern District of New York, the premier U.S. attorney group up there historically. They're out of control now also, but when you ran it, they weren't.
All right, you didn't get an answer to your other fucking question. Get on with
How did
it.
this, if everything you say is true and all these rulings and the process is true, how did this happen in the
That's a bunch of
United
ifs.
States? And why are no civil liberty groups, all these lawyer groups? Where's Alan Dershowitz? Where are all these guys screaming bloody murder
I think he's at Little St. James Island, isn't he?
about what happened to Rudy Giuliani?
Well, maybe they don't know about it, but a lot of them don't scream bloody murder. A lot of the civil liberties groups have become anti-civil liberties. They support a fascist system of government. My goodness, people shouldn't be surprised. This isn't the first case where they started acting like a court in Nazi Germany.
Jesus Christ. Get over yourself, for fuck's sake. It's Nazi Germany, it's an Inquisition, it's a witch hunt. Yeah, you're being burned at the stake and stretched and hung by the fucking Hague. What the shit?
It's going on for 5 or 6 years. That's what I defended Donald Trump against.
You paid a giant fucking fine, man. You're not getting killed. He called it a death knell, not an actual death.
I mean, every one of these cases has been conducted on principles that violate our Constitution.
You believe that there shouldn't be libel or slander or defamation laws?
They trashed our Constitution the moment they put in a surveillance of my iCloud account the day I represented Donald Trump. They kept it for 3 years without telling me, and won't give me the warrant that supports it, even though they found no evidence of the crime.
Well, maybe they did, and that's next.
So this has been going on.
Thank you, Mary.
I believe since Holder and Obama, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, this is his slander case against Sham and Ruby Freeman is an offshoot of Fast and Furious.
And because we ignore it, they become bold. This judge happens to be one of the worst. Is she worse than the judge in New York?
I hope not.
I don't know. But her rulings are absurd. I mean, they don't
Yeah, absurd doesn't help me, dumb fuck. Why the fuck didn't you, put on a defense? What the hell?
even fit anything arguably legal. You can't,
He hid evidence. He has the Jan 6 phone records. Yeah, absolutely.
based on dispute over discovery, You can't hold somebody liable of a major offense without putting any evidence of that offense or giving them even one chance to refute it when they have incontrovertible evidence that it's true.
No, it's quite controvertible, I would like to say. It, as a matter of fact, was wholly and completely controverted. You tit.
Rudy, just quickly, where?
What the fuck are you talking about?
What's your status? Are you going to try for a retrial in a different location or the different judge? Are you going to try to appeal this? Just walk people through the process.
Well, we're going to try to appeal it. I mean, another interesting
yeah, no doubt.
thing is this case should have been brought in Georgia. It was brought in D.C. to get it before the most anti-Trump set of jurors and judges in the world.
Okay, hang on, asshole. Let me get this straight. You think you fared worse in D.C. than you would have in front of a jury in Atlanta, in the district these ladies are from? You serious? Where the ever-loving fuck do you think you're going to get a jury in Atlanta? Shit, you'd probably spend half your time trying to just find people that don't know these ladies personally, you dumb motherfucker. And his lawyer would have to start excluding women who dress just like them. Like,
I mean, if you're a lawyer, you will tell your client, or malpractice comes about, if you're a Trump person, you're not getting a fair trial in the District of Columbia.
why?
Now, if you don't warn your client of that, I would say you're guilty of malpractice. Go check that with any lawyer who still has a bit of common sense.
Says the guy with a podcast called Common Sense, who has lost his law license.
So they brought it in the worst court they could.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. There are definitely some areas of Fulton County and Atlanta that would absolutely go, this motherfucker.
Even worse than Georgia, where you might get lucky and get a fair judge. And then this judge went way off.
You mean somebody that Kemp or Raffensperger put in? Yeah.
Off the rails. From the very, very beginning. Even the discovery. I was being discovered for other cases because these people are working for the Bidens, not for the
discovered for other cases.
women. They were asking me questions that had to do with Trump's liability, other people's liability. Basically, they wanted me to rat. You know, that's what's going on. They offered me settlements, and I told them to go to hell.
Uh-huh. Well, they always will offer settlements, and stupid people will often tell them to go to hell. Also, one of the reasons why they might have asked you about what Trump told you to do is to kind of lay off some of the blame on him. But it was all you, dumbass.
This was a
Rudy,
stalking action.
It was a stalking action.
For Biden, and also to shut up the guy that's done the most damage to him. Remember, when he came into the campaign, he sent out a letter to the press to keep Giuliani off the media. He succeeded in doing that eventually with the hard drive.
Oh, there we have it again, kids. The motherfucker can't say laptop. He's always got to say hard drive because he flew to Europe and he bought the hard drive from the Russians in Ukraine while Trump was president and brought it back. And he keeps saying hard drive. So does Bannon, by the way. When they're supposed to say laptop from hell, both of them keep saying hard drive from hell because they're fucking stupid.
He defamed me, calling me a Russian pawn, which has proven to be 100% a lie by Biden. And very
No, Biden didn't prove that you weren't a Russian pawn himself. Also, you think pawn and agent are the same thing. You're like, I wasn't an agent for these people. No, you're an easily dupable asshole who's looking out for himself and to some degree his buddy Trump.
damaging to me. It cost me $6-7 million of law practice.
No, you lying in front of legislatures cost you that.
So I'm hoping I'll get back from him any money I might need. But in any event, this is going to be thrown out. This award is so absurd Even the amount of money, if you just look at the amount of money for the damages they're talking about, it's like
I gotta say, the idea of this asshole moving in with Alex Jones in an apartment together, it's a sitcom waiting to happen.
a jury that was just inflamed.
I'm just telling you, Rudy, you can't clog up the toilet like that. I'm not clogging it. I'm sitting on it. Look, I gotta go. Just pee between my legs again. All right.
By one side of the case and prohibited from hearing the other.
We're both bald and out of our minds and still oddly convinced we're attractive. Hey, it's the Alex and Rudy show.
Only happens
where acid reflux wins the day.
In a fascist country. Wake up, America. Biden's America, where he's got control, those democratic cities, is a fascist country.
Okay, so those democratic cities where Biden's got control, and he's the president of the whole country, but what have you. Yeah, he's got control of it. It's a fascist system and a fascist government. And so you're cool, I guess, with sitting outside a fucking apartment building in where, the Bronx, Cleveland, Toledo, where the fuck are you? Broadcasting over Skype your location. You're not the slightest bit concerned in a fascist society that there might be a Jewish space laser pointed at you right now, or are you full of shit?
Rudy, how do people get to you on the...
Oh, fuck off. How do they find you? Rudy, give us your social medias and where do you get there? Rudy's Common Sense podcast is the thing that everybody needs to see.